It has been a while since we've been with you, but welcome into the Roll Jays podcast. Alex Drake, Jimmie Allen, Casey Matthews with you here, brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing inside of the Pyramid Contractors studio. Guys, it's been a while since we've been able to catch up. Not a whole lot has been happening in the news other than guys leaving Creighton and having a ton of success. Baylor Shireman drafted to the Boston Celtics with the last pick in the first round. Trey Alexander absolutely having a heck of a summer league session for the Denver Nuggets, and Creighton getting into their summer workouts as well. Casey, we'll start with you. Obviously, you're a lot closer to Baylor than Alex and I are, but what was his thought around getting picked by Boston? Because I know a lot of people, when that call didn't come from the Knicks, were a little worried if they're going to have to wait another day for him to come off the board.
Yeah, you know what? It's one of the special things about Baylor, I think, is that he's always a guy that believes you just control what you can control. Don't get too high, don't get too low. When my conversation with him last week, I kind of asked him that same question, like, what was going through your head? And, he said that essentially his agent had prepared him mentally for that situation. And even though he was a little surprised, a couple teams that really liked him or told him that they really liked him in that 24 and on spot, those spots, he was a little surprised, but he's also really excited to be on the Celtics and, joining the team that just won the NBA championship. And one of the things he's told me he's really excited about is that there's a history there of developing guys and giving guys a shot to earn minutes. And I think that's really neat. You can see, like I said, you can see the examples on their roster. Hauser, for instance, that was a summer league guy and two-way player, and now he's on the active roster and played all throughout the playoffs. So, he's really excited. I think he's having a good summer league. He's had some games that have been better than others, but I think it's good for him to have a little bit of that. I think we're all just really excited to just see his career start and how far he's going to go.
Yeah, and he was out there diving for balls and falling all over the place the other night, and just showing the value that Baylor Shireman brings to that organization. I think it's a really good fit for him in a sense that he doesn't have to step in as a first-round draft pick and kind of have the weight of the world put on his shoulders. Very rarely at the back end of the first round does that happen. But we've seen it. We've seen it be the case, and I think Baylor's going to find a real nice niche in that lineup to be a 6th, 7th man that can really come off the bench and give them some quality minutes.
Oh yeah, for sure. He'll find his way onto the court. The thing with Baylor that I've always thought really separates him is that he's not a one-dimensional player. He certainly can shoot and score, but the reality is in the NBA, there's only a couple of guys on each team that you really score it at a high level. And for everybody else, they need to be able to be efficient, which is something that he excels at. But then his basketball IQ and his ability to pass is something that I think is really going to help him find his way onto the court. And then everybody knows he's got a nose for the ball and goes after rebounds. And he's just like, so much of rebounding is positioning and knowing where the ball is going to go. And he's so good at that. And he's not afraid to get in there and mix it up. And so all those other little things are going to be things that get him on the court. And then his personality and he's just such a good teammate. Like, he's going to play. He's going to play.
Right.
He's obviously, he'd love to start. He'd love to play 40 minutes. And, I think it's, what is it, more than that. But, he knows he's got a role, and he's going to fulfill that role and do what's ever asked of him. And that's what he's done his whole career. So he'll crush it.
Well, I will tell you this, boys. As a Celtics fan, I'm excited. I think he fills a huge need in that second unit that they didn't have. Kind of a wing player that can create a little bit more. And Casey, to your point, they absolutely this new regime, since Brad Stevens has moved into the front office, has done a great job of developing guys. They've kind of transformed Tatum a little bit into more of a distributor. Jaylen Brown's improved a ton. Derek White's career has taken off since he's gotten to Boston. Peyton Pritchard improving a ton every year. And I think I think that Baylor Shireman and Peyton Pritchard combo in that second unit could be pretty special at times. But yeah, I just super excited for Baylor. The one thing I was going to say too is, obviously we talked about it a lot this season. Baylor's body transformation going into this past season was so impressive. And it even appears that he's unlocked another level of athleticism since the season ended. And which is strange to me for a guy at this point in his career to be able to continually change your body and get more and more athletic. I think there's a lot more left in there that we know about, which is not normal for somebody at his age.
Yeah, I mean, he's bigger than people think too. I mean, unless you stood next to him or really been up close and personal with him, I think you don't understand. Like he's a big body, a big frame. You're right. I mean, and I hate to toot my own horn here, but I think last summer and spring, when I joined you guys, I think I called it that his last spring and summer was so impressive to me. I'll never forget calling his old head coach, who's a good friend of mine, Eric Henderson, South Dakota State, and I remember I told him, I said, Hendo, this is the first time I really believe that he's an NBA player. And it was after seeing him in the spring, seeing him in the summer, and watching him go through it every day. And so, actually, it's funny. We were talking last week, and I just said, "How you feeling?" And he said, "Dude, I'm exhausted." And I didn't really really think about it, but truly, he did. I mean, he went from he crushed himself in spring, crushed himself in the summer. Obviously the fall, getting ready, for the season, and then he's been full go after the season for preparing for the draft and doing all those things. So I think what he's going to do after the summer league is he's actually going to take a week and rest and let his body recuperate a little bit. So he's looking forward to that as well. But
he's earned it.
Yeah, it's neat, man. It's just neat to see guys that really can, like I said before, control what you can control. He got the feedback. He knew what was needed. And he put it into action. And you know what? That's a great lesson. It's a great lesson for other guys that are coming up. Like you've got to put in the work.
And he's going to make a great high school football coach someday when he retires.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, and I mean the thing about the Omaha community and Creighton as a whole, I mean the number of people they had down at Let It Fly for the event and just the people surrounding Baylor just waiting to hug him and congratulate him as soon as Matt gets the call and we find out that it is him, because there was that discern in the room when the Knicks didn't take him that there may be another meeting at Let It Fly the following day, but it was just really cool that to see how many people were there to support him and genuinely just looked happy for him, because it is a great story, and coming from Aurora and having to go the South Dakota State route and then having the options he did to come back to Omaha, and then obviously having to choose again last year and choosing to come back to get a shot at the NBA, and obviously well-deserved. But I think Baylor's, to your point, Casey, a testimonial to what it looks like to earn it and work for it. I mean, a guy that we hear so many times, we hear guys that go through the NBA draft process that, they don't know what they're talking about, and I'm the best thing since sliced bread, and I've been told that I was this and that since I was 8 years old, and the NBA is my birthright. So where Baylor took all the criticism and the critiques he was given, went back, completely changed his body from the way we've ever seen it, whether at any stop at Aurora or at South Dakota State or even at Creighton, it looked like a completely different player and took it to the next level to where he didn't even look like he was an improved player, but didn't even look like the same guy from a year prior, and it looked like the NBA style player that you were alluding to a few minutes ago.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. It's so cool to see these guys and see them transform and really take it, and go after it. And I mean, I think we can say the same thing about Trey. Like I know there's a certain level of disappointment there for not to be drafted, or I mean the two-way deal. But I was super proud of him too, and really just so proud of his approach this so far in the summer league. Of like, he's certainly disappointed. I haven't talked to Trey. I've texted with him a little bit, but he told me, he's like, it's just another reason for me to have a chip on my shoulder and another opportunity to prove people wrong. and he's doing it, and I think that's awesome. So it's
He's
something
making a lot of GMs look stupid right now too. Maybe not stupid, but he's showing that he deserved to be drafted.
Well,
I think that's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
And it's a different situation, right? I mean, we talked about the benefit of Baylor kind of being able to come in and play a part-time role and kind of earn his spot on that roster, where in the last couple of games for Denver, yeah, they're 0-3, but the ball has been in Trey's hands a ton. He played 30 minutes against the Hornets, dropped 18 points. It feels like they really like the combination of him and Hunter Tyson, and they want to see what they have in those two young guys. And they've been giving him not only just a ton of playing time, but they put the ball in his hands a lot as well. And he hasn't really wavered from the moment he finally looks healthy again and is playing really good basketball in Denver.
Yeah, it's so cool. He'll be the one that kind of, I think, falls through the cracks a little bit, to where, like you said, Alex, like people will look at that and go, man, we might have missed one here, but we had an opportunity to get a guy that can contribute in the second round, and we missed it. But good for him. Like he's a guy that, again, he's worked so hard and put himself in this position. I love the fact that he's shooting the ball well. That tells me that his shoulder's probably doing much better, and then for Trey, his thing is just like he can do so many things. He's got to be able, which it looks like he's been able to do in the summer league, which is great. That was one of the things that some of the feedback was, that he struggled to get by people with the ball, and so it's great to be able to see him. You can tell he's just put in the work, and it's starting to really show, and so. Yeah, I hope everybody's really proud of him, because being on a summer league team isn't a given. Getting a two-way contract, those aren't things to just sneeze at. That's a huge deal. He's going to make the most of it, and he's going to have a great career, just like Baylor.
Casey, I'm old enough to remember that guys that went in the back half of the first round and in the second round, or even undrafted free agents, a lot of the time didn't end up on a roster ever, and usually ended up in Europe. But it seems like that has kind of been changing over the last 8 years or so, and also guys going in the first round that are older and spend more time in college. What do you make of that, and how does that play into Creighton's hands, Coach McDermott's hands, and what he's been able to do in keeping that roster old?
Yeah, I think a couple things there. One, I think the two-way contracts, the Exhibit 10 contracts and things like that have certainly helped give guys a shot. But the two-way contracts specifically, that you're guaranteed, and I don't know all the details. I'm not an NBA guy. We should have Coach Lou on here. He's really good at keeping track of all that. But I think that certainly helps, because you're guaranteed a certain amount of games up with the main roster. In terms of like staying old, and I think that's. Look, it's a testament. You alluded to it before, Jimmie. For Baylor to come back for that last year, you don't do that unless you believe in your head coach.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's a testament to Coach Mack that, look, there were quite a few big guys that got drafted this year. I think that's great for Ryan Kalkbrenner, and hopefully some of these guys contribute. But you look at a guy like Ryan Kalkbrenner to come back, but after he was getting some good feedback, like, it's a testament to Mac. It's a testament to the support, a testament to the NIL, to the city of Omaha. There's a lot of things, but I think the main thing is that these guys believe in Coach. They know that he cares about them, and they know that he's gonna find ways to make them better. And so, I hope that answers your question, Alex. But I think you have to just heap the credit on to Coach, because it's not easy to get these guys to come back. And certainly we've had our fair share of guys that have transferred and gone a different direction. But I think the history has shown, if you come back here and you stick around,
it works.
You're going to have a great shot. You're going to have a great shot to fulfill your dreams. And we're lucky. We're lucky to have Coach. I know you guys probably get tired of me saying it, but he's the man.
He got the extension already. You don't have to keep lobbying for him.
I know.
You don't have to sell me on it, Casey. We already agreed to put his name on the building.
Yeah,
that is true. That is true. Congrats, Coach. Congrats, Coach. That's a big time deal.
This is the Roll Jays podcast brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing inside of the Pyramid Contractors studio here with Jimmie Allen, Alex Drake, and Casey Matthews. That's one thing that we haven't really touched much on is obviously the Championship Center gets named the McDermott Center after the McDermott family. And I think that's well deserved, not only for what Coach Mack has been able to do, but what Doug meant to the city, meant to this team, and it really meant to the addition for Creighton into the Big East. I'm glad that and it would surprise me if Coach Mack would have just willingly accepted it by himself. But I'm really glad that Doug is very much involved in that process as well. Alex, what did you think when it came out that it wasn't just going to be the Greg McDermott Center, but the McDermott Family Center?
I think it's great. I mean, and going even, yes, Doug, Greg, huge parts of the community, very important. But it even goes beyond that, right? I mean, it goes to how the family supports the Pink Out and how big they've grown that event and everything that just goes into all of it. I mean, Greg McDermott has been the guy here, right? And it's been he's taken this program to new highs, but that family means so much more to Omaha than I think casual basketball fans will ever understand.
Casey, what were your thoughts?
Proud. I mean, really super proud of him. It's interesting. And there's probably other examples, but Creighton has. When I got here, one of the things that really surprised me was that the Rasmussen Center, right, where Bruce was still our AD, and he had a building named after him while he's still actively working. So then that always struck me as what an honor and what a You have to have made such a difference in the community, on campus, and in the lives of so many people to have that, honor. And so then to see this come about and know that a donor donated money and specifically said, I won't do this unless it's named after, the McDermott family. I mean, again, actively coaching, we know he's got a lifetime contract. Any AD here would be insane to ever let him walk out the door. But in the landscape that we're in athletics, coaches come and go. They get fired. They go for other jobs, whatever it might be. So to be an active coach and have your name on the building, again, you have to have done some really, really special things and made such a huge difference, again, in the community, on the campus, and most importantly in the lives of so many people. And so for me, it was just a really cool deal. I mean, super proud of Coach, of Doug, of the entire family. I mean, I think Tree has made a huge difference, like you alluded to, Alex, and the Pink Out. The courage that she has to tell her story every single year and know that every year it's going to be up on TV. And that can't be easy, but she's taken that mantle on of trying to make a difference in that way. And those things are really commendable. And again, I just feel blessed that I've had the opportunity to work for him, to know the family, and super proud of that achievement.
Yeah, I saw Coach Mack, and he probably doesn't even know. I was in the background, crowded place. I saw Coach Mack during the College World Series down at Let It Fly when that Wednesday where they had 3 games. I went to the morning game and stopped at Let It Fly on my way out. And Mac was walking in to meet somebody for lunch, and he stopped and took photos with people from different tables, shook a lot of hands. I mean, he's a man of the people, so to speak. You could tell he loves being here, and this town loves him. And I only got to spend 1 year down there and talk to him pretty frequently, but that's definitely a year that changed my life as well. I mean, he's an unbelievable man and a very special person, and has touched a lot of lives.
What were you drinking?
What was I drinking? I was drinking water. I was dry.
Sure.
I gotta tell you guys, this is one of my things. Being out of the profession now, it's fun. When I first got here, one of the things, I don't know if people ever know this, Coach Mack he likes to go to lunch as a staff.
Yeah.
And or order Orsies.
I got here. Do what?
I said or order Orsies. Or is that
yeah? Well, that yes, of course. But I remember we went to lunch one of the first times, and he, I don't know, I was kind of just waiting, trying to figure it all out. And I go up to order, I get my wallet out, and he like kind of grabs my hand. He's like, "I got it." And I was like, "Coach, you don't have to buy my lunch, man. You're paying me." And he goes, "I got it. Just drop it." And I was like, "All right." Well, then I found out, like, yeah, you don't pay for lunch if you're with Mac. But one of the, so that obviously he's just very generous in that regard. But the other thing was anytime, 100%, I'm telling you, 100% of the time, go to lunch, and if you just look around, you see other people like whispering, like, "That's Coach Mac." That's and he's not searching for that, but he is happy to take the time to say hello,
and probably very aware of it happening.
Oh, 100% has to be. And then everybody, what happens is you try to think of your Coach Mac story, right? So they always, people come up and say, "Coach, I don't know if you remember me, but 3 years ago, I was walking through the grocery store and you were looking for flour." I mean, who knows what the story is,
right?
But oh yeah, I remember that. And like he's so good that stuff. And so yeah, when just talk about making a difference, like that's people. What is it? People don't remember the things that you said, but they remember the way that you make them feel.
Sure.
And that to me, like, kind of sums up Coach, is that people don't forget the way that he makes them feel, and that's why his name's in the building.
We've gotten a chance to see a couple of the freshmen at practice and at workouts and things, and Larry Johnson has kind of taken this locker room by storm a little bit. People are really excited about his athleticism, and it looks like Jimmie Neal is everything they thought he was going to be coming in out of Arizona State. And we saw Fred King, Stephen Ashworth shared out a video yesterday of Fred King getting some good minutes out on the court, working against his fellow bigs and having some success. When we talk about it's obviously July 18th, so there's still a lot of room for things to go right and things to go wrong. But when we talk about this team and expectations coming off the 2 years that they've had and the run that they've had, how much should expectations always be where they've been the last 2 years going forward now, in your opinion, Casey? Or should we pump the brakes a little bit and let this team be this team?
Yeah, I mean, that's a fun one. We had my guy AT on a few weeks ago, and I think we have to definitely pump the brakes on this one and just let it play out. Because I'd love to sit here and be a fan and like, oh yeah, we're going to be great and we'll win the league and all those things, and we certainly should have an opportunity to have a shot. But I think a lot of things have to come together, and I think when you can't lose 2 NBA players, and think you're going to be just as good right away. So there's a lot of work to be done. I can't wait to see Kalkbrenner and the role that he has and whatever they've got in store for him this year. I hope it's a much bigger role. I was beating the drum for that all last year and letting him touch the ball in almost every possession. I think Steven will have a great year, and I really hope too, like you alluded to Fred King. I hope we have a resurgence of Fred, because he needs it, and the fans would absolutely go nuts for that, because Kalk cannot play the minutes that he played last year, and he just can't. So Fred's got to find the floor. So as far as the transfers and freshmen, I'm actually really excited to see Jackson McAndrew.
Same.
I think he is going to be a absolute stud. And then Ty Davis too. So I'm fired up. I think it's going to be a good year, but I do think we'll take some lumps early, have to figure some things out. The schedule's not easy. And let's not shy away from the fact that the league is going to be a monster again. So it should be a fun year.
Alex, your thoughts?
I'm totally comfortable at this point, keeping my the same approach I had last year. I think the goals should be right around the Sweet 16 still for this team. You got a lot of leadership with a guy like Stephen Ashworth, Mason Miller in his 4th year in the program, Jason Green in his 3rd, Ryan Kalkbrenner in his 5th. So you got a lot of leadership. Fred King in his 3rd. And Casey, I got a follow up question for you on that after this. But and then you did reload a little bit. And I think what you hope with you brought in the couple transfers, and then you brought in those 3 freshmen, which correct me if I'm wrong, 247 had them as number 12 in the class for the freshmen. I think you're hoping that you have a little bit more depth on the bench at that point. And then you have Isaac Trout, who's been working on changing his body so he could stay at the 4. So between Jeremiah Neal, Mason Miller, Jason Green, and Isaac Trout, you feel like you have a little bit of flexibility in what they can do there and hopefully throw out a few different lineups. You have Larry Johnson, Jackson McAndrew, and Ty Davis, who all appear like they can play multiple positions too. And that doesn't even get into the rest of your crew between transfers and Stephen Ashworth. I know Casey and I kind of beat the drum on this for the entire season, but his transformation throughout the year last year was outstanding.
Agreed.
And I think what he's going to do this year is take another step. I think he's going to be a lot more consistent shooting the ball because he understands his role a little bit better. There's not going to be Baylor Shireman and Trey Alexander that are taking the bull by the horns. He's going to have to step up into a different role, but a role that he's held before at Utah State to some extent. So I'm really excited for the pieces that we have. But Casey, I wanted to ask, what do you make of a guy like Fred King entering the transfer portal and then still coming back to Creighton after basically being on a milk carton for the second half of the season last year?
Yeah, I mean, I think NIL is a powerful tool, and I don't have details, but I know this much: when you look at NIL and you look at who's making really good money, it's the big guys, because there's just not that many of them that can play. So you look at what's the guy that went to Washington that's reported like $2 million. He was Omar Balu that went from Arizona to Indiana, making pretty good money right now.
Well, what do you say for a guy like?
Are you talking about Wes Yates, or are you talking about the kid that transferred to Washington?
The one that transferred, his name is slipping my mind right now, but they reported he was making like $2 million on the.
Yeah.
His name? Montana State, I believe.
Osbar, right? The Utah State kid.
Shoot,
No.
We're live, and I'm messing this up. It'll come to me. What were you going to say, Alex?
To me, obviously NIL plays a factor, but to me, I think it means the staff and Mac portrayed some sort of a vision for him to get back into that lineup and be involved again, and it had to have been something that Fred trusts.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. Okay, but and this is you're right. It is Great Osabar, Jimmie. That is the name.
Yeah, okay. That's I thought. There was another kid from I think Indiana, and I can't. But it wasn't $2 million, but it was close. I couldn't remember his name though.
Okay. But I think here's the other side of this: is like when you're Fred, you put your name in the transfer portal, and you're already doing pretty good NIL wise here. There's a certain number that you're going to want to leave, and it's going to have to be, it's going to have to be worth it. And I would suspect that he didn't get the number anywhere else that he wanted, and so he was more open to coming back here. That would be my guess. Again, I haven't talked to him about it. Haven't talked to anybody on the staff about it. Pure speculation. But,
sure.
I would be absolutely floored if NIL did not play a factor in him coming back.
We'll be back next Friday at another 1 o'clock or 12:30 edition. We'll let you know on social media where we are. We're trying to get the our friend Elon Musk has kind of screwed us over on trying to get our stuff posted on Twitter Live. So we will be posting everything up to YouTube Live, and then we will make sure we put everything out on social media while we're there. Thank you to everybody that joined us today. We'll be back next Friday here on the Roll Jays podcast, brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing inside of the Pyramid Contractor Studio. We'll be back next week. See you then. Alex has got to work or something, so we got to